It was another world, a different world and a different time, no? Argentina had not been in any of the wars, and it wasn't involved in the Second World War. So, it was very peaceful. A little bit later, when I was like 6 years and older, we had the dictatorship of Perón. That was, he was an admirer of Hitler. He never achieved the degrees of cruelty and madness that Germany had, So my childhood was quiet. I went to school. In the afternoons, they always sent me to learn English in the Cultural Inglesa. So I started learning English when I was 5 years old, because it was kindergarten was in the English school, and they sent me there. And when I finished high school, I got an foreign exchange student program. I was able to register for the program. I had to ask permission from my parents. And my mother said, well, you go ahead and register too, because anyway, you won't get it. Very supportive. I never asked her if she meant that I didn't deserve it or that it was hard to get, I don't know. Well, the thing is that I really didn't get it. But in the second choice, I did. Because the girl that was chosen, her parents didn't let her go. Last minute, they backed out, and they said, we don't want to. She was an only child. So that was the second choice, and I was chosen, and I went. I must have been looking for something in the area of religion, because I visited every church that I could know of. And the Bay Area was the best place to find, every religion. I mean, you had the Christian, the Protestant, Methodists, Baptists. I visited a synagogue. I visited a Taoist and Maoist and Chinese, religions. I got to know the Church of Jesus Christ through a Spanish teacher from San Jose High School. He came to visit our school. He was the Spanish teacher in that other school, San Jose, and invited me to come to his class and talk to his students in Spanish. So I did, I took my guitar, and in those days I drummed the guitar and sang Spanish songs. And this teacher said, I would like to invite you to my house to talk to my wife and children. He had 6 kids. So I did, and I was talking with them when I went to their house, and he gave me a Book of Mormon in Spanish. And for the rest of the year in San Leandro, I didn't have time to read because I was very busy with the exchange program. But when I went back to Argentina, the first thing I did was read the Book of Mormon. I remember that it was the times when it was very fashionable to smoke. And I had never trained myself to smoke, but I said, this is a good chance because I don't have any other distraction. I will start reading this book and lighted a cigarette and tried to smoke. And somehow I couldn't concentrate in the book when I was with the cigarette, so I put it off and I would read. And next day I tried the same thing. I lit a cigarette and tried to read, and I couldn't read. But I was very interested in the book, so I put out the cigarette and started reading. The third time I just didn't even bother to light the cigarette. I never got in the habit of smoking. But I finished the book. I read the Book of Mormon, and the Book of Mormon gave testimony of itself to me. I knew it was authentic. I knew it was what it said it was. Although, in later years and several readings, I have found so many ties to the history of the world, the history of Americas, things that happen and things that are narrated in the Bible and other religious I always marveled at the depth of that book. And I knew that Joseph Smith could have never been the author of it. He wasn't, in fact, not even the translator. He couldn't have translated ancient languages, and he barely knew English to be able to write that book with the complexity and everything. So I searched for the church in Argentina. There were no chapels built then, so it was old houses refurbished to work as a chapel. I went to this place and rang the bell outside, and the missionaries came out to the door, and I said, I've been reading this book and I would like to know more about your church. And they couldn't believe it. And I wasn't an easy investigator. It took me a while to decide that, I wanted to be baptized. And it was a very small testimony. It wasn't a huge testimony. But I had the testimony of the authenticity of the book. My parents were supportive. They liked the church. Although they never read the Book of Mormon complete, they never accepted baptism. They thought it was a good thing. Manuel, my father, used to say, we would need to have several thousands more of these missionaries in our country, in Argentina, and we would probably be better off. So he recognized the purity, the quality of these young men and women. I was looking for a husband. No, I didn't have, we didn't date, really. That's not a system that exists in Argentina. But we had friends. And in fact, I registered in a class of German because I wanted to go to Germany. I wanted to visit Europe. And Juan also registered for that class, so that's how we met, in a German class of all language. Our going out together was, okay, I'll pick you up tomorrow and we'll go to the park, or we'll go to have an ice cream. So you can say it was dating, only that it wasn't called dating. And it's incredible because, we were really very young. He was 19. And I was 20, a year older. And he was always a very well-liked young man. Everyone who knew him liked him. And he was very friendly, and he obviously loved me. And that was it. Two months after we got married, I was pregnant. So, I became a mother very young, and they were normal. Although I was working, I always enjoyed my work outside of the home, and I loved being a mother, and cooking and doing the home chores. We lived very close to my parents, and they helped a lot with the kids. My mother especially was very helpful. So it was a happy time. We moved to Buenos Aires because he got a job in the church office building, the temporal affairs. At one point, I decided I wanted to really have a career in English, and I decided to do the profesorado, teaching English as a second language. And I registered and started. And Silvina was starting elementary school. So we were both going to school. So I did 3 years of the profesorado, and the career was 4 years. So 3 years after, 3 years along the way, Juan got this position in Buenos Aires, and we had to move to Buenos Aires. And that meant for me dropping my career 3 years along, only the last one missing. And I did it anyway, thinking, okay, we have to keep the family together. But and this is where the miracle comes. That year, for the only time, before and after, the profesorado decided to accept materias libres, so classes that you could study on your own and take the final exam and pass. And that helped me finish, because I was able to take most of the classes that way, except practice teach. So for practice teach, I could go to Rosario once a week, teach the class, and come back in a bus. And the miracle was that I don't know what prompted them to give this possibility for only a year, and then the next year they canceled it and went back to their own system. But in the meantime, I came with my degree. And I say it's a miracle because at the time I didn't realize how important it was for me to have that degree. But I found out when I came, emigrating really as an immigrant, that it was valid. My degree I had to validate it in a company that validates degrees. And it was validated as Bachelor of Science in Education with a concentration in English. So thanks to that, the University of Utah accepted me in the master program and doctorate program. And that allowed me to get this position here at UVU, where I worked for 20 years. I started at the University of Utah in '89. So let's say 90. In '95, I finished master and PhD. 95, I was hired here and we entered into this house. And it was shortly after that Juan started coming down. In Argentina, we didn't have an issue with women working. It was normally what women did. When the money was short, the woman would start working and help. I was very lucky because the languages department was chaired by a man, Dr. Del Shamway. So I had a lot of responsibilities in the developing courses and creating the program, basically creating the program, which I enjoyed vastly. So, I was very happy working here, very happy. And I was never absent. And when I retired, they said, you have a whole year of salary here that you can draw on. So I received the salary for a year longer without going. I would like them to remember that I had a testimony of the truthfulness of the church. And if anything, I would tell them, always look for the truth. Make sure you follow the truth and not the myriad of lies and lights, bright lights that are around here but are not worth anything. And the fact is that the Book of Mormon came to the world through the Lord's revelation or not. So was Joseph Smith telling the truth when he said that he saw the Father and the Son and they spoke to him? Was that the truth or was it not? That's crucial for me. Once you know that this is true, stick to it. Don't waver, stick to it. That's what I would tell all these 15 grandchildren, and now it's going to be 12 great-grandchildren, which is something unbelievable for me to have great-grandchildren, so many. But that's something that I would tell them, look for the truth. You can still look for the truth. Confirm your theories and your hypotheses, confirm them with the Lord directly.